Ladies and Germans, how you all doing? This is Over coming to you with another Company of Heroes 2 1v1 match today between Hector and Cat. Hector is spawning over here on the western side, playing as the Wehrmacht obviously. He's bringing to the fray Mobile Defense, Osttruppen Doctrine, and Lightning War Doctrine. So the three standards from him. Cat, for his own point, going to be playing as Soviets, bringing to the fray Mechanized Support, Terror Tactics, and Soviet Industry. So Terror Tactics could definitely have a 2/3 chance of seeing that KV-8. But Mechanized Support tends to get a lot of play these days. Guys, originally I had meant for today to be a submission Saturday, but the couple of the replays I've looked at recently, there's been a lot of salt, and I will not cast games where there's a tons of tough talk back and forth. I will not cast a game that has any kind of comment about suiciding or anything like that. That's not the sportsmanship I have on this channel. I will not be doing that. So if you send me a replay recently, there's at least one player I can name off the top of my head right now. I'm sorry, I appreciate you sending that in, but I will not be casting those kinds of games on this channel. Getting back to this one though, Cat opening up very standard, going for the 3 conscript opening on top of those combat engineers. Hector doing a fairly standard opening himself. MG42 rushing up to the north to pick up this garrison. Once he gets the chance to do so, unluckily dropping a model right there. Control this entire area. Should be able to suppress, but not pin, these conscripts pretty easily. Any second here. There we go. Some fire coming out right about now. And Germans pushing over here to start taking up their own fuel point. No, instead they're getting caught up in this firepower right here against these conscripts. Second squad of grenadiers coming in, and Cat has got himself a big fuel lead already. And will not stop the Cat, but at least put more firepower into these conscripts over here. So Pioneers against conscripts, not going to be too great for the Pioneers. Got to get out of there right now, but somehow they've allowed themselves to get some machine gun fire in the flank here. I doubt they'll be pinned necessarily, but they've done really good damage to the early German positions. I'm getting closer and closer all the time here, and unluckily enough, machine gun changes positions so that would bring under their fresh squad of conscripts, which will definitely allow this other squad to be attacking unmolested. So only one model left. He's got to sneak out and away from the house. Bring a fresh squad of grenadiers in. There we go. Grenadiers come in immediately to pick off a model from this eastern squad of conscripts into the west. Just kind of slowly supporting this machine gun. Oof. These guys are so beaten up right now that grenadiers are doing pretty well against them. Question is, will these conscripts pick off this machine gun on retreat? It's a crapshoot. Not 100% sure on that one, but we will see. This probably is going to see... Yep, there's the retreat right there. Fantastic. Pioneers, in the meantime, hustle up into this house right here, and should put some good fire out on these conscripts. A 4th squad has been called in the meantime for Cat. And Cat is looking to jump back into this church. That's an excellent soft retreat to move his troops back into a fighting position that could lock down the center portion of the map. Germans are down just a couple of tickets. It's going to be changing pretty soon as they pick up this central VP. And this breakwater right here in the north, they're doing a pretty good job of holding on to the other position themselves. Nevertheless, Cat has got a very big fuel lead and will continue to do so until Hector is able to secure both this strat point here and his expansion fuel. Not going to be too easy when you consider that these conscripts right here are building a defensive breastwork. Grenadiers, in the meantime, though, do rush up here and get enough fire down on top of them that he compels them to retreat ever so delicately. Conscripts, in the meantime, this breakwater is slowly being eroded, and to the southern portion of that, we are going to see Grenadiers chasing off a second squad of conscripts. Combat engineers, where are those blokes? They are nowhere close, it seems. Well, that was embarrassing. So Hector pushed on in, and a demo trap went off in the church. A brilliant decision right there being used by Cat. You know, you don't often see play like that. I mean, that's a fairly standard demo on that church. But usually players wait a little bit longer because they try to use it for themselves. Cat right there making a great choice, and you can see the bodies of its victims being caught in the rubble right yonder. very early S minefield coming out over here on the top as well. So kind of interesting. Not a very common thing either for earlier players. But I suppose right now the Germans are trying to continue to build on their own successes. And support weapon company coming out, I hadn't even realized they hadn't put down any first tier tech building. Cat should be able to just kind of take that and run with it, though, plopping down a second tier if he wants to. But does not seem to be in his immediate future. Hector, for the meantime, is floating a ridiculous amount of manpower, but I imagine that's because he needs to build a tech building with these retreating pioneers first. And looking at the map so far, we are going to see a slight, very, very slight advantage being going over to the Germans. And it does seem that Cat has already sniffed out these mines over here to the north. And it's not going to be do anything but slow him down just a tiny bit. Both players take a bit of a breather before pushing on any more forwards. Hector building up his Leichter mechanized company. And I'm wondering if it's going to be a 222 immediately. No, it's going to be Pigrens. I think that's a better decision right now, considering the relative infantry strength. Yes, it's true. The conscripts are not elite Russian infantry, but the pioneers are not going to stand up very well, and the machine gun is a very immobile fire point. So as long as the conscripts do from multiple directions, not a great position for the Germans to be in. In the meantime, we are going to see a Maxim machine gun coming out from Cat's support weapon Compania. And these grenadiers are trying to slide in and around. Oh, no, no, no. They are just going to set up back in this breakwater yet again. The La Haye Saint of this map, if you will. Anybody out there as a Waterloo scholar will know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't, well, I'll explain to you another time when you're older. What do we have going on in the meantime? Well, combat engineers are running back home, which means expect to see a tank heavy battalion command coming out soon enough. And 8 minutes into this game, we see the tickets are practically bang on even. Conscripts in the meantime are going to come under fire from Pigrens from one side, and out in the open these guys are going to get carved apart. It'd be nice for me to see the grenadiers come out of this house and catch these conscripts in the flank, but it seems these Pigrens are willing just to do the dirty work by themselves. There we go, we're finally seeing them coming out right now, supporting fire from the second conscript group, encouraging these grenadiers to come out. With the LMG-42s, it doesn't fire on the move, but at the same time, once that thing gets set up, these conscripts are going to get cut to pieces here. Yep, I would be tired of this shit too. A second squad of Pigrens coming in and making short work of the Soviet defenders. And the pioneers who had just been up here before to set up a minefield are now coming back up to recap yet again. I'm hoping that Hector has stopped just that way. Yep, he's putting fire onto this retreating conscript squad. But instead of staying put and putting more fire into them, another burst of fire or two, he's deciding to retreat, calling discretion the better part of valor. In the meantime, his MG-42 continues to lock down the center portion of the field here, with the standard wire out around this tank position. Now, I really thought we were going to see a tank heavy battalion command, but it seems more important to the combat engineers that they throw down a fuel cache, which I think is a good decision as well. Not be the 100% what I would go for, but it's a good decision, I think, anyway. Why is that? Well, I think the early Soviet defenses have been very infantry reliant, and even if he doesn't build anything more than a single T-70, it would be a good idea for him to have an alternative fuel source besides just the expansion down here to the south. As you can see right now, the Germans are controlling a lot of the northern positions. And even this push right here is going to be rather abortive if the Grenadiers and Pigrens, just two Grenadier squads, can easily deflect any conscript push being made. But the Maxim comes in trying to put some fire down like crazy and will do decently well. But a flank from over here to the western side will be just as good. And oh my god, this could be the greatest rifle grenade known to mankind. You didn't even see this happening. Yep, rifle grenade any second now. Rifle grenade right here would be amazing. Anything. Oh, rifle grenade onto the machine gun. Does tons of damage. Yep, those guys are unfortunately pinned But two... Oh, wow. Okay, that's a good decision right there. Just merge the squads. And with the Grenadiers now forced to retreat, and the conscripts now taking up the slack instead, these other Grenadiers are forcing this P-Gren squad to kind of blob up and come to the north. But there goes the Maxim, knowing he can't take on 3 squads at once. The Grenadiers could put another rifle grenade down if they wanted to. Not going to. But they could have, if they had chosen. You'll see a Tech 2 coming up right about now, and Hector finally clapping down himself a medic bunker. See a very, very quick bit of teching anytime soon. And there is that tanky battalion command coming out for the Soviets. P-Grens continue to march around. Those guys in strength are ridiculous fighters. And indeed, with this Maxim coming up yet again, they should be just running back up to the north. Unfortunately, they're not going to. And yeah, that guy's got to pull back before he drops an ever so valuable LMG. In the center-west position over here, we do see conscripts have been able to sneak forwards and definitely push the limit on what is technically German. But the Germans have continued to do that themselves on the Soviet side of the map. And an interesting decision happening here, a Su-76 being utilized. Was not expecting that at all. Pioneers coming down here to the south, trying to put pressure onto this fuel cache. Those MP40s are not going to do a ton of work. And there's that terror tactic, so we are going to see potentially shock troops, but more likely that KV-8 within the next couple of points here. And tons of munitions do mean that this propaganda artillery can be quite useful. Ah, there we go. So one fuel cache is down. Thank you so much, Pack 40. And just the range being done right now. What, 4 shots maybe? There's a curtain of fire that's going to be carved out. 3 shots. There it is. A curtain of fire just blowing through everything. 70% of German infantry is here right now. And yes, this Maxim is doing good work right here, but I imagine we'll see... We're not going to see a grenade? I guess not. Okay. Well, they encourage that retreat. That's good enough, I suppose. These poor pioneers are charging right into the fire. I don't know what they have in their mind. Oof, but I don't know what's happening to these conscripts either. These guys are being caught out, being savaged, cut to pieces. They're definitely going to go down and retreat. Pure propaganda artillery being utilized right on top of this big blob, I would hope. Skadoosh. Pinned like crazy. Morality of their actions. Pin or retreat. Pin or retreat. I'd be retreating right now. I would definitely be retreating right now. There you go. But the Soviets have still taken losses. Rifle grenade has been utilized, but at the same time, this Grenadier squad not willing to give up the ghost just yet. There they go. Now they're going to back away. But it's 455 to 397. The Germans have slowly begun to create their own destiny. This is why we spam Maxims. I suppose it's kind of true. Yeah, it's actually an interesting question. Why didn't he spam the Maxims? It is a slightly... yeah. It is a slightly slower... it would be a slightly slower build-up just by virtue of having to build the support weapon Compania. Throwing out the Maxims instead, especially on this map, is probably a better option overall. Yeah, it's also true. Wins do count. And all that matters at the end of the day is if you win the battle. But okay, taking a quick look at terms of well-rounded armies, I would have to give a slight edge, and this might be a judgment call, a slight edge. Now you're wanting that, I'd be wanting if you use Maxims. A slight edge to RT and Hector for the time being. Yes, very, very true. Oof, that's that big boom right there doing work. Is that Pack 40 really throwing rounds into the house? Yes, he is. I think this is going to be a dead Maxim, folks. Yep, that's a dead Maxim. Okay. And here comes the propaganda stuff again, because now with a blobbed up German, that's all you can really do. Can you be able to get out barely? I think that one P-Ground squad's going to make it out, but that's about it. Meantime, though, this thing's just utilized like crazy. But a slight edge, and now it's going to be a growing edge as Hector builds himself a P4. And Cat doesn't have a whole lot to really call his own in return. But these P-Grounds have been ultra cautious as they move forwards here. Finally return to a little bit of speed. Su-76, this only small, shining diamond in the sky, let's call it, for the Germans. Excuse me, for the Soviets. We see right now another sneaky demo trap being placed by these combat engineers. These guys have a pretty good bit of experience already being utilized by the first one of those. I have a second one here, a third one there, so this could be a very, very expensive push, let's say. At least for the Germans. Moving further and further south, we do see conscripts are going to come down into this minefield being ever so lovingly set up by pioneers and retreating back through another P-Ground squad. Not a very good place to be. It seems like this Maxim squad does have these grenadiers out in the open. You have seen, of course, that Hector has gone for Lightning War Doctrine. Not going to see a whole lot of usage immediately. I mean, of course, relief infantry is kind of nice. But I guess it's probably the best decision under the circumstances. Especially if he's looking to just waste time until he can get over to this Tiger or even the Stuka close air support. That could be rather good. But 17 minutes in, we have a trip cap for the Germans. And here comes a big boom. 3, 2, 1. Another squad goes down. So demo traps were really causing a lot of issues for Hector. A little unfortunate he's not been able to recognize that happening here. And the quick barrage from this Su-76 is doing some real damage here. Tether mines being placed to the south on the likely flanking route from the Su-76, but the P4 shouldn't be too concerned about engaged troops. Molotov goes out, and I imagine I'm going to see these grenadiers get slaughtered if they're not careful. They're going to get slaughtered. They're going to go down and retreat. Really? Huh, he made it out. He made it out alive. Who knew? Grenadiers yet again finding themselves getting flanked like nobody's business. And now out in the open, though, this P4 should be able to cause a good bit of damage. 3 kills already, 3 quick kills. And a third Su-76 is going to be coming out, though, for the Soviets. Once that happens, the Germans don't have anywhere near enough AT on the map and won't have it for at least another minute, plus however long it's going to take for these puppies to come out. With more mines going down, I don't think that's what he has in mind. I think he's looking for more of that passive play. Kind of hard to disagree with it otherwise. And the Pak-40 at the back of the P4, the Su-76s might want to find another playmate with whom to tangle. P-Grounds, in the meantime, causing some damage to the north. Cat seems a little bit flummoxed for the time being. Going down almost 200 tickets. In fact, it's going to be 200 by the time I finish my next sentence. But these guys right here are going to run over the demo trap in Skadoosh. No? Okay, so an MG-42 and Wehr 43s. Interesting opportunity right there. Not sure why he just threw a Faust into the fuel cache, but, you know, maybe a judgment call right there. Nevertheless, there is a more than a little bit of a force difference in favor of the Germans. Basically just conscripts for the Russians, and assuming the Germans don't rush over this giant death trap waiting to happen. Yeah, good. Back away slowly. You know there's something out there, just don't know what it is. You have a trip cap, no need to rush on forwards. 20 minutes into this game, Hector is tentatively securing a victory, but it also helps that Cat is not being too terribly aggressive either. Maybe what Cat should consider doing is picking up a shock troop battalion rushing that in under the cover of this Maxim and using the conscripts to entertain from long range. He doesn't seem to want to do that. Instead, he keeps building up this massive wing of Su-76s. And I guess he's looking to either have this one big doom throw. It's either ride or die for him right now. Wondering if Hector is considering, just maybe, throwing down for another P4. For the time being, one shot up is going to come to the north, and he's going to completely carve apart this conscript squad. But 4 Su-76s throwing rounds to the north. Time for this guy to retreat. Yep, there he is. So make it up between salvos as well, so that's a lucky bit right there. It would have been oddly cinematic to see all those Su-76s line up and fire, but, you know, that's how it works, I suppose. In the south, we are going to see conscripts, and this lone combat engineer trying to push and take the German positions. It's not going to happen, though, between the LMG to the south, as well as these pioneers. Oof. It's the Soviets that keep taking losses like crazy. And that's one death right there as well. These Su-76s aren't pushing at all. Cat, what are you doing, Bubba? You may have 9 lives in real life, but you don't have it inside this game. You're going down 300 tickets. You can't have that happen. Throw the Su-76s in a mad, light cavalry attack. Apparently that's exactly what he's doing. Strange. Also going to see fair propaganda artillery. The question is where? To the south? Yep, to the south. Su-76s seem content just to push on forward some more. And those conscripts are not going to set off those teller mines, even though every single time you watch that in a game, it always seems to happen, doesn't it? Shells being lofted over at this particular garrison. But the Pak-40 should be more than enough to let's say, convince it to move elsewhere. And I think Hector is just waiting for this Tiga tank, and why shouldn't he? For right now, he doesn't need to be worried about too much. Pack is looking like a superhero right here, though. Could be able to slide on forwards. One pack is definitely going to go down. But these guys right here are taking devastating hits in the meantime. There goes one Su-76. That's one. It's time for the MG to fall back, though. Or not. Or not. Apparently, Cat is just running scared. 455 to 106. I sincerely don't know what Cat's doing. I think he's just kind of goofing it out here.
We have fallen to 100. We are losing supplies to the enemy.
So it's ROP if you play it correctly. Unfortunately, that's not happening. And here comes the Wehr, and I believe this is also the LMG armed Grenadier squad, isn't it? Yes, it is. So there's some tough talk going on right here, but these guys at least are buddy-buddy about it. We will see this concept squad's going to get carved to pieces. Just you wait, folks. And butchered they are, and there's a conscript squad right there, leaving the Soviets with just really one mainline squad. That's also true. So a blob of that, what do you do in return? Well, first things first is you tech up to this bad puppy right here.
Forces are attempting to capture our territory.
That's also true. And there is that Tiga tank.
Supply lines have been cut.
And, you know, there we go. So we've already identified what the mistake was here. And the mistake was you don't let your opponent blob solid infantry. P4 slides forwards, and I disagree that if you play it normally, it's not that. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that Cat did not aggressively tech, nor did he bring in an early tech building, which would have helped out a great deal. Tiga tank is on the field, though, and this small armored fist is more like a poking him, trying to poke him to death. And you will see one by one. Yep, there you go. Cat surrenders. Would have been one by one. These Su-76s get flanked and taken out. So the ending score of 455 to 73 in just under 25 minutes. RTN Hector takes out Cat. Though we have already identified what the mistake was right now, and that was Cat not aggressively teching forwards, and Hector being allowed to blob up his infantry Not the most sterling of games, but definitely a cautionary tale of what happens if you do not get that suppressive ability in a machine gun out in the field. But thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Again, if you have a game you want me to check out, first of all, once more, there will be no crazy, salty conversation going on back and forth. I will not cast the game. I will delete the replay. But if you have a game you want me to check out, send it to connorgaming@gmail.com. I'll see you all soon. Have a great day, everybody. Take it easy.